Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Abrams, and I'm excited to host today's Talks at Google event. For everyone that is watching live, we will be taking questions at the end, so feel free to add them to the chat throughout the event. We have two amazing guests today. We have four-time Indianapolis 500 winner Helio Castroneves and Emmy Award-winning director Patrick Dimon, and they are here to discuss the new docuseries 100 Days to Indy, a behind-the-scenes look at the bold and brash personalities of the NTT IndyCar Series as they begin their 2023 season and start their epic quest for racing's greatest prize, the Indianapolis 500, which is this upcoming Sunday. So welcome, Helio and Patrick, and thank you for joining me.
For having us.
Hi, Mike. Great to be here, and great to see Patrick as well. We've been actually together for a few events, I guess, up to this point. But yeah, super excited to be here with all of you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. You know, we've had 4 episodes already that's been amazing being able to watch this, but I actually want to start back a little bit first. So, Helio, I want to start with you because there is a group of employees we have here and a group of people watching that maybe aren't going to be as familiar with the 500. So can you kind of give, like, what is this experience? Kind of, can you explain the magnitude of this race for this series and just in general as someone who's been doing it for, you know, you've been racing for 20 plus years in the series?
Well, imagine back then, talking about this is over 100, it's going to be the 107th basically race. Imagine back then, 100 years ago, this race, in fact, if you see in some of the faces on the trophy, they have 2 faces, which is actually cool. The reason is because they used to race with the mechanic in the car. So now we're talking about, because back then, imagine, it wasn't only 3 hours of racing. It was about 9-10 hours of racing because they never knew if the car is going to, they have to stop, fix the car, and keep it going. So that's how incredible this race is. If the meaning of this race, it's not always about just another race, you know, it's actually, it's history. So many people that here in Indiana area, also all of the world, but most of it in this region, saw the evolution of cars, you know, coming through the years. And when they broke the barrier of 200 miles an hour, you know, an hour, 235 miles an hour. I mean, look at how incredible it is over those years. The first guy that actually won, not the first guy, but the guy that finished one of the race, he was so thirsty in one of the race because, again, it was such a long hours that he decided to drink milk. This is Louis Meyer. He won for the 3rd time, 3 times actually. Now the tradition, it's drinking milk after the race. So every single episode or race, it creates something special for everyone, because as I mentioned before, this is heritage. You know, people inherit their tickets. So now the grandfather passed to their son, to the son now pass it to their son, and it keeps going generation of generation. That's how, and that's why this race is so incredible and special. So yes, over 100 years, only 4 guys in the planet were able to win 4 times, which is Rick Mears, Alan Senior, and AJ Foyt. And I'm the 4th one, which I just did in 2021. So for me, I don't think it's sunk yet, what I accomplished, but I'm very, very humble and honored to be in this position. And now going for something that nobody ever did, which is winning number 5. So we're going to fight for it. And I know the competitors are every year becoming better and better. But in the end of the day, this place chooses who is the winner. And I hope I'm being very nice to this place so they can give me another one.
So we'll talk about this year's race in a little bit, but I want to ask you, Patrick, about the docuseries. Tell us a little bit how you got involved in taking on this challenge, and really, you know, you're leading up to this monumental race, but you're doing multiple races each week in real time. So what was it like, kind of, you know, when you decided to tackle this, and how's it been so far?
Yeah, I mean, I come from this world, doing these types of shows for a long time. And I was approached by Vice and CW and Indy, kind of were chatting at the end of last year. And I was approached and someone said, hey, what do you think about kind of this style of a show where it's, you know, following drivers as it leads up to the Indy 500, and I didn't know much about racing. And I did a little bit of I did some research. Obviously, I watched some of the races. I saw obviously the how great of characters all the drivers are, how global and universal and beloved this sport is. And it was a no-brainer to me. So yeah, I was approached and I said, listen, I'll assemble a great team that knows how to turn around great content in this kind of time frame, which is tight. We can talk more about that, but this is basically programming. Whereas sometimes these docuseries are filmed and then they're put out after the fact. This is obviously happening in real time, so that adds another layer of, in my opinion, makes the show great. But obviously, it adds a layer of you have to be really efficient and you have to be on it, and we're filming and editing in real time. So. And I love that style of a show and production. So I was all in.
Yeah, I would actually love to ask a couple follow-ups about that, because it's, having watched the first 4 episodes and following the series, how much of, you kind of build this world, how much is sketched out ahead of time, you following certain teams and drivers, versus how much do you rely on the race outcomes and everything to do these and turn these around so quickly?
Yeah, great question. I think we sketch out, a general format of, listen, we said there's 6 episodes, there's 5 races before the 500. Let's have logistically, it makes sense to have one race anchor each episode, whether it's in the beginning or the end of the episode. We anchor that episode around that race. So right then and there, you're obviously relying a little bit upon results, but also, listen, there's so much history in the sport. So, we kind of, we laid out a general groundwork of, here's the history of the sport. There are obviously some major players and teams that have been around forever, i.e. the Penske's and the Ganassis and the Andretti's. And so, we put a general guideline around drivers and teams, and we wanted to feature as many as we possibly could in the show. So we put a general guideline around each episode, and then we leave, I'd say, probably about 20% to what the race results are. So, that way we can kind of make sure we're telling a certain story, and then obviously we're telling the story of the actual race, which we don't know the outcome, but that's what makes the show beautiful. So yeah, I would say 60 to 70% of the show is kind of generally thought out and laid out, and we film with the drivers at home and on the course and off the course. And then we rate, and then we rely on the race to tell the last, 15 to 20% of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Ellie, I want to ask you about being filmed. I know obviously you've been experienced and raced a while. You've also been on TV with Dance with the Stars and other shows. But what's it like having this is your job, this is your work, and you're having this kind of behind the scenes part of it being filmed? Does that, do you even register that it's happening? Has it kind of changed this year, or is it something that's just happening, in the background? You're getting a few questions as things go.
Well, I've been in this situation before, as you mentioned, because of Dancing with the Stars. So it's kind of like understand what they need to do. Pat actually is doing an amazing job with his team, because I feel that actually what they do right at this point is harder, because they have to cover more than 20 drivers sometimes, and it happens a lot. It's sometimes there are drivers that just like to stay on their own way, and sometimes there's a lot of other things to do as well. So it's hard to capture all of it, and that's why I'm saying they're doing a very, very good job to capitalize the most of it, what they have and what the direction. Because as well, the same way, you've got to have a purpose. And at this point, because we're the 100th day to Indy, which is a few days now, it's hard, for you to combine everything. But for me, it's no problem. I actually wish it would be more, because there were so many other things that I was able to do that I don't think people were able to capture that. But it's okay. It's at this point, I watch it, and it's actually intense. Yeah, as you can see, it's really cool. Race cars are really, really fun. They're sexy machine. They're high tech. They're danger. You know, there was all the aspect that you actually can pick, like in a movie, literally. And that's what the show is all about. It's actually amplify those areas to everybody that may be when they're watching the race, you know, and hear the announcer talking. Uh, if they actually understand and have a little more knowledge, they were like, okay, this is what's happening. So they will understand more about the strategy part of it and things like that. So there was quite a lot. That's why it's great to have the show showing that area that a lot of people might not know.
Yeah, you'll have to ask Patrick for the deleted scenes for yourself. But plenty that's on the cutting room floor. This question I really want to ask both of you, because there's, you know, as someone who follows the sport, there's some amazing and great personalities that, you know, are getting to like a really good moment in this series. Is there anybody that you were when you know, especially Helio being in the series for so long, is there anybody that you, when you heard that this was going to happen, be like, oh, this person's going to shine, like this personality is going to be, everyone's going to love this person? Or was there anybody that like surprised you, Patrick, of like, this is the person that was like, that has become great TV and really fun content for you all to capture?
I tell you one thing, my team owner is actually an incredible guy. I'm not sure if Patrick were able to capitalize on those, both actually, because I have two team owners, D. Meyer and Mike Shank. Oh my goodness, they would be an incredible on the show. G maybe might be a little reserved because he has his own way, but I tell you what, he would be incredible. Such a great guy, and I would like to know more about that area, you know, from the team owners, team principals, because even that I'm here for such a long time, I know the drivers, you know, sort of like you interact with them, but the personnel behind the scene, that sometimes I don't know, and I don't know if that was a strategy at the beginning with Patrick, but for sure it was the way they're talking about it was more into the drivers. But I actually mentioned them; they should keep going in this direction because there are so many other things that they still can show in the program that it will keep a lot of people awake.
Yeah, I mean, to that extent, obviously, we would love to cover more drivers, more owners, the whole season. This was just kind of the parameters of the show, and so, but yes, I mean, Helio's spot on. His you know, MSR Racing is great people, and all the principals and all the team owners have been on board and have been huge for the show. Everyone's been super welcoming. Yeah, you know, a television hour sounds like a lot of time, but it's a lot to pack in with all the drivers' backstories and trying to cover the races and trying to explain the sport to, you know, we're trying to make the show for the diehards, but we're also making the show for maybe the diehard fans, you know, niece, nephew, friend, you know, like you have to approach these shows a little bit for the non-diehard fans. So you have to do a little bit of explaining about the logistics of the sport, you know, what are the basics of it. And so, you know, that takes up a lot of time, which is also great too. You know, you need to explain that to the viewer. So long end of it, yes. Season 2 and onward, we're going to do more owners, more drivers. But right now we fit in as much as we possibly could.
Yeah. And has there been anybody that has kind of stood out for you, Patrick?
Oh man, that's a tough one because I approach these shows kind of as a blank slate, and to me, I think every driver has brought their own, which is good. I think every driver has brought their own vibe, their own personality. Some are more outspoken, some are more, you know, some are more out there in the public's eye. Some are a little bit more, you know, they like to just race and do their thing. So, and I like that. You can't have all the same characters. So that's a tough one for me to answer. I think, you know, obviously Helio is kind of the veteran that's going for this historic run. And then if anyone's watched the show, you know, we started off with the Penske's and the Chip Ganassi racings, and they have their kind of their stable of drivers, which are kind of, you know, they have their own certain vibes. So I think it's cool. Every team and every driver has their own personality, which for me makes for great television. So yeah, I would say every driver brings their own vibe to the show, which for me is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. I think another thing that's been, I put you on the spot, so sorry for making you do that, Patrick.
No, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy all of them, so it's hard for me to answer that. So yeah.
It's like a favorite child.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I think that has been really eye-opening watching these week after week, especially for maybe a more casual fan, is how much parity there is in racing. There's been a different winner almost every week. Do you see that as, like, I guess as the making the series, Patrick? Are you rooting for certain outcomes, or are you just rooting for good stories? Like, how do you look at that when you're kind of you have such a short window to put this together, and then leading up again to this race, you've got a lot of multiple storylines that could be amazing in the 500, obviously, Helio for history, and then there's a lot of other stories that are out there. How much do you root for the best story or the drama, or some of the there were some interesting finishes and different pieces when you're putting this together?
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, we've obviously had an amazing season for our show. There's been different winners for every race. So for the show, that's great. I mean, also, if you have a dominant team or driver, you can tell that story as well. But I think for us, the season's been absolutely incredible. But there's been a variety of winners, a variety of teams winning. So for us, that's great. I mean, I think that to us is, we couldn't have planned St. Petersburg, Texas, Long Beach really any better. And so, yeah, we go in as, listen, we cover as many of the drivers' kind of backstory, home life as we can. But obviously you can't put that in every episode. So it may not match specifically with the episode that they happen to do really well in, or maybe had a really dramatic race where they didn't finish, or there was a spin out. So obviously you can't use that in every episode. But I think we've really lucked out with the drivers that we followed and the results. So yeah, kind of, you can't pick it, but I think we've gotten really lucky this season about following and getting great results for who the people we have followed. But you go into the races with a blank slate, and you kind of cover it as the viewer sees it, really. Who had a great race, who maybe didn't have a great race, where's the drama. And I think we've knocked it out of the park with that. And obviously a lot of that is up to the drivers and a little bit of luck. But yeah, I think we've had a really great season as far as that goes.
So this has all been leading up to the 107th running, which is this weekend of the Indianapolis 500. So let's talk a little bit about the race. And I'd love to start, Elio, with you. You're qualified, I think, in 20th in the middle of 7th row, and you're on a quest for history to be the first time 5-time winner. So what goes into, to winning? As someone who's won this 4 times, what goes into this week and really this whole month to prepare for this kind of historic race?
Well, the preparation continues, I have to be honest. Now we're done with practice. We have only one more practice, which is going to be Friday, and only 2 hours. That's it. After that, we don't practice, don't race anymore. Our leading up to the race, believe it or not, a lot of people saying like, "Oh, you relax, you just concentrate," is the busiest time for us, because imagine the biggest race of the season, biggest race of Indy, biggest race of all. Everybody show up on Friday, right? So all the sponsors, all the special guests, all the celebration. So basically, Friday after our last practice, we go and visit all the sponsors, people that, because remember, this is a very expensive sport. A lot of people don't realize, but a set of tires sometimes it costs over $2,000-3,000 just to just one set, and we use more than 10 probably in a race, which is true. But anyway, the point is, you actually have to make sure that all the people that supporting that team, it's you want to see them, and so there was dinners, there was meetings, there is plus the series also. They have their sponsors, their commitments, so we're gonna go kind of like promote that as well. And the traditions of the race, we have a parade on Saturday that basically goes through around the city. We have a public drivers meeting. We have our own drivers meeting, which is private, but because it used to be like that 100 years ago, that everybody could watch what's going on, so they keep that tradition as well. So everybody can, it's over about 10,000 people just watching us having that preparation. Plus the introducing the trophy from last year, the pole position, the rings to everyone that are participating of the Indy 500. And then another meeting at night. You probably finish so exhausted at Saturday night that it's just like, please, let's just race. But it's cool, right? I mean, I know it sounds a lot, but it's cool. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and it is cool. It is fun. It is different. Every year you see something that new, and you learn something from it. So it's special. That's why if everybody has a bucket list, which I believe they do, this is one of the bucket lists that they should ever watch the race. And don't worry, it's not going to be over. If it's already 100 years, it's going to have another 100 years to go.
Yeah. So Patrick, for you getting to document this, I mean, obviously there was a dramatic past weekend with the qualifying, and then you're going to this, again, hundreds of thousands of people. You've got the snake pit party. You've got all these different components of it. How do you, how much are you devoting to what? How are you kind of figuring that all out with it being really the first time you're experiencing this event from this lens?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, an hour doesn't do this race any justice, and we're going to do our best to cover it. But yeah, episode 6, the final episode, will air, the Thursday, not the following Thursday, but the following Thursday after the race. So yeah, I mean, we're covered qualifying this past weekend, so that'll be part of the final episode, and then obviously the race. So, listen, we got a crew of probably 30 to 40 of us out there this weekend, and this coming weekend, and we're just gonna try and cover as much as humanly possible of it, and edit it down to the best, however many minutes it's going to be. There's no way to capture the whole, the spectacle of it all. But listen, we have good crews. We've had the same crew that's worked every race, so we have the race coverage and all that down. And so it's just a matter of kind of trying to cover the feel and the vibe of the whole area and the town of Indy. I'm excited. We're cutting right now the qualifications and kind of the pomp and circumstance of what leads up to the 500, and then all we have to do now is kind of get through the actual last 4 or 5 days where we cover the whole spectacle and put that into the final episode. And yeah, we're excited, but yeah, it's a big undertaking.
Yeah. So we're gonna take audience questions here in a second, but I do want to ask one more kind of fun one for you, Helio, and Patrick, for be ready. You have this tradition when you've won, you jump up and climb the fence, and so I'd love to hear a little bit about how that started, like where that first came from, and then Patrick, if we do witness history, have you scoped out how you're gonna film this?
Well, it was a race that I did in my first win, and I was supposed to actually go to the victory circle, but I guess I didn't hear very well the people from the drivers meeting. I was so focused on the race, and I made a mistake. That was in Detroit. I stopped in the finish line, and when I look around, I didn't see the crowd or the cameras or the team. I was like, where is everybody? So I look at my left, the crowd was going crazy, and I just I said, you know what, I'm gonna go celebrate with them, and that's end up going, climb the fence, and it turned out to be a great way of celebration. I did not plan. I did not expect it would come well. In fact, I got a fine that day because they were supposed to go to the victory circle, but the CEO decided to because he saw it was a good thing, rip at the check And I said, all right, from now on, you can climb the fence, but only you, not anybody else. And it was great. So when I did it in Indianapolis, because it's such a big event, people thought it for the first time that time, but it was actually not. And it was huge. It was huge. Everybody now racing IndyCar or Formula One or NASCAR or even GP, the team goes and climb the fence, which I don't mind, and I think it's great because it's a great way of saying and showing how happy you are winning a race.
Patrick, are you? I was gonna say, are you ready if it happens? Have you scoped this
Yeah,
out?
I don't know. I think we'll have to mount a camera to the fence and tell Helio to hit his mark and go right up to the camera and just scream right into it. It's gonna be a tough one to cover, but no, listen, we have full access. I mean, has anyone seen the show, to the track and we're in there with the drivers and whoever's winning. So expect, good angles of the winner. Hopefully, Helio, we'll be right there on his shoulder whenever whomever wins.
Amazing. We're going to pull up a couple of audience questions. So let's pop the first one in. The first one is from Eric, and Eric asks, Helio, you've raced in different types of cars and series recently, IndyCar, SRX, IMSA. What draws you to these different forms of racing, and how does something like an SRX improve your IndyCar racecraft?
I enjoy it because driving different type of cars, and these days we used to test a lot 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and now we don't. Costs became very high, and they just limit everything for not only from the team owners but from everybody else. So, and now simulators is part of our world, and that's why it's becoming much more reliable on that. So I decided to drive other things because I want to just keep driving, and it's actually amazing. I with IMSA, I spent 3 years with Team Penske, and I learned so much that I enjoy very much. And I said, look, as long as we have a long distance race, count me in because I want to drive. And the SRX, man, it's just incredible. Racing against such an incredible champions. Wow. And what a great place, because normally the NASCAR guys always have some advantage because the car looks the same. But because this is a little bit different, and the tracks that we go, it's the DNA from actually the American racing. Everybody, it's just small tracks, but it's so cool because it's packed, it's fun. Everybody's like really passionate about race. So I enjoy that. It's like one day you just arrive, practice few laps, and go racing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That's why I enjoy very much doing all the other series.
Amazing. We've got one more question. This is from David. It's also for Helio, for you. Do you prepare differently for especially important races like Indy, or do you do the same prep for all races? And then, Sean, good luck to you.
Thank you. No, same prep. Keep consistent. That's the same way. Obviously, you got to be a little bit early. Normally, the other races is about, 45 minutes. Here, it's probably about an hour and a half that you got to go there because there are so many things happening. The national anthem, back home in Indiana. There is, again, you guys are going to watch on TV. It's so many things, but my preparation is the same. It's just actually create a little more excitement, anxiety. You're like, come on, let's go. But it's tense. It's stress. It's tense. But when you close the visor and it's time to showtime.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for taking time during this extremely busy time for you to be here and spend some time with us.
Thank you guys so much for having us, Mike. Thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, and tune in. You can check out 100 Days of Indy on the CW on Thursdays. It's also streaming, and then the Indy 500 is this Sunday. So good luck, and excited to see the final 2 episodes.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.